I am about to share what the dark night of the soul really is, how and why it happens, and how to get out of it. Hi, I'm Helen Starr, Rainbow Goddess Igniter, inspirational author and co-founder of Rainbow Light School. I went through more than one dark night of the soul myself, from illness to relationships and beyond, and I have guided countless souls out of this. And so I am quite expert on this topic that can be sometimes a taboo because it's on the edge of depression and illness and struggles and this trend. But it hasn't been like that, because the dark night of the soul, from our soul perspective, which chose this, is an awakening, is an initiation. But from our human perspective, it's absolutely the opposite oftentimes. It's like, an unwanted hardship, something that, my life was much better before this, why I'm living this. So we have two perspectives, two attitudes that we can choose. I feel like a victim, but I'm sure you wouldn't be here if you would feel like that, because I'm talking to people with a curiosity that is innate. But anyway, there are people who see this dark night of the soul like the worst thing that could ever happen to their life, and that would never recover from it. So they would live life from a shut heart. They would not allow themselves to feel fully life again because of what happened to them. And so they felt that life was unfair and life happened to them, not for them. Then there is another attitude, which I am discussing today, and if you are here watching, this is for you. I know it's hard. I know sometimes it's so intense that I wonder, am I going to make it? Am I going to get out of this? Because I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, there is a risk to get lost, to really get lost and don't come back to our center, to our light. But, however, in the midst of this desperation, frustration, depression, you still feel a voice that says, no, there is a way out, there is a meaning here. And even if it's hard, even if it's terribly tough, I'm going to find out. Because you have a guiding star, a light, which is your soul. And actually, you can never really separate from it. Hello, Liz, Clarissa, Elena. Thank you for being here. And you really cannot separate from it, because we are one with our soul. But when we go through that dark night of the soul, we can feel like we have completely disconnected from our soul. And so we feel that actually we have gone very far from our soul. We cannot really disconnect from it, but we cannot see the soul. And so we cannot see the light. That's why we are into the darkness, into the dark night of the soul. We are meant to be in this void because, before going to the reasons why we experience this, what really is the dark night of the soul? Because, of course, it's different from each and every one of us, but generally, it can be many things. an illness, an addiction, an existential crisis, or maybe a job, business, or financial struggles, a mourning, the end of a relationship, whatever, or maybe a sudden move to another place that you didn't want to. Whatever is really shaking you to the core. So no more foundations, you are falling down. And it's not pleasant because it's really like you didn't know this life before. You were living another life, and then you find yourself into these emotions that are overwhelming, and you wonder why, what's going on. So if you are into any self-development or spiritual path, I mean, just with the desire to be your best version, your best self. So you have traveled the path of your desires, of your inclinations, and you want to be a beacon of light for yourself or for others, depending on what you do. And then you find yourself into the dark night of the soul and ask yourself, so wasn't my previous life better than this one? So what's wrong? I mean, the moment that I opened up to receive more blessings in life, more light, more beauty, more strength, I found myself living this. Why? So the reason is that you couldn't make a better choice saying yes to your passions, because we are here for this. I mean, if we don't say yes to our passions, what are we going to say yes to? This is the purpose of life itself. So that's perfect. It's not that you shouldn't have done this. But this brings something. You chose to embrace more fully yourself. You choose to really be on another level, of a higher level of awareness. And you went through the spiral of life, which is the title of my very first book. And it's a powerful life symbol, the spiral. So you just decided to go through to the other wave, to be fully yourself, to embody your best qualities, your talents, everything you own. This requires that you have shed some light on this. And this light went also to the areas of your life, and of course your life is a reflection of you, your inner self, and there probably were areas that weren't blessed with this light yet. So you are enlightening them for the very first time. It's like life is telling you, if you still hold fears, limiting beliefs, or distorted life perceptions, you cannot really embrace your fullness, the magical life that you would like to live. So please have a look at your fears, have a look at your limiting beliefs, at your distortions, old programmings, or whatever you carry that is not light, and transmute it into light. I hope, Clarissa, that you will find an answer by the end of this video to your question. I just read it now. And Liz as well. Let's see if we get there. Because I need to give you a broader perspective before getting to the core pain. So it's like you can say, oh, But isn't it easy and nice when you just get started in life and everything went well and you were successful and the life went happily ever after. I mean, this is a fairy tale, and I am a big fan of fairy tales, so I'm really for this. But we live in a duality. Earth isn't a fairy tale yet. I mean, we are co-creating it, but we are not yet in 5D, the fifth dimension or beyond. I mean, where there is only love and oneness. I mean, we are not yet there. I mean, we are moving towards. So we have to get what we have now. So, and on the other side, someone else can say, oh, but I started my life, I got maybe some success or some health or some happy relationships, whatever is your topic in your dark night, and then everything fell apart, crashed, and I was in the middle of this scary night, and I didn't know where to turn because no light at the end of the tunnel. But eventually I surrendered to my inner guidance, because even if you cannot see the light, you can still feel your inner guidance, and of course you can get all the help that you need, because this is what I did as well, and this is why I'm here also, because we are not meant to do everything on our own, hopefully. We are here to help each other, to support each other's light. That's why we are here. And then you say, but I overcome this transition, because remember that it's temporary. The dark night of the soul is not meant to be for a long time, actually. It is meant to be temporary, but then of course it's up to you to decide how long you want to dwell into those emotions that keep you there. I overcame it, and I went on the other side, and I realized strength and a power and a perspective that I didn't have before. And so I owned my real soul power like never before. So this is all about awareness, because yes, you can be lucky from a human perspective to, okay, everything went well in my life and I've been blessed with just wonderful things, and so that's it. Okay, but you can share that, okay, everything didn't go the way I wanted, and those moments were my training, where I really learned to master my life. I actually had to face my fears, because until I didn't face my fears, I didn't know anything about them. I just kept them, because you can live a shallow life where you don't really feel much, because you don't go too high, you don't go too low, and that's fine. I mean, there are many people who choose to live in that frequency. There's nothing wrong. I mean, we all have free will. But if you dare to the stars, you also have to bear in mind that the same energy can go really, really down. And in going really down, it's not a failure, because unfortunately our society, Western society, doesn't support us in this, because it's all about failure, waste of time. The experience is not really regarded as it should be. One of the meaning of life is to go through experiences and to get learnings, to get meanings, to get good out of life experiences, to transform the lead into gold. We are life alchemists. And I can assure you that once you go through your dark night of the soul and you re-emerge from the other side, your perspective, your sense of invincibility is really at its highest. And you can teach by example. You don't teach by words. You teach by what you have mastered. And you really can become master at facing your fears. Because when you face your fears, you get to know them. They lose power. They don't have power over you. But if you fear the fear and say, oh, no, I want to live here. I don't want to go, I'd like to go up, but then I know that I have to go also down. So I prefer to be in this bandwidth. That's fine. But if you don't get to really meet your fears, you don't really get to meet yourself, because we live in a dual universe. As much as I like to talk about the rainbow light, I talk about the rainbow light because we shed light also on the darkness, because we are here to transmute the darkness into light. So whatever is the dark night of the soul can be, it's about the perspective that you give it. So for someone it's something really small, for someone else is something shocking. It's the meaning that you give to a situation. It's not the situation itself, but anyway, how you live it, and the courage that you have to really go through your fears. It's when you own them, because when you know them, you are free. That's why the old saying, know yourself. That's the real meaning, because when you know yourself, and yourself is not just this presence, it's dive really deep into all your facets, because we have many. And we don't have to be ashamed to have many facets, to feel deeply emotions, because we decided to dive deep in life. And something amazingly important is to remember and keep in mind that you are not given, or I should say, you don't choose. Your soul doesn't choose anything, doesn't choose any dark night of the soul that is superior to your own capacity. I repeat it. You don't get a load that is much more than something that you can really handle. So what you get, what your soul chose, is what you can perfectly handle. And yes, Clarissa, you mean what we have to embrace our fears, accept them, and not to contrast them? That's the first step, absolutely. Because if you decide to contrast them, because this is another cultural programming, we have to fight against an illness, against fears. We don't really have to fight anything, because the more we fight, the more we get this. Because fighting is actually giving energy to that. So the more you fight, the more energy you give to your fears. And so your fears become bigger and bigger. But when you decide to meet them and dance with them, which is a complete different energy, you start to getting to know them. You get to know them and you understand their way of expressing through you. You understand the reason why are there. You understand what's behind them. you really get to know things that you did not expect at all. And this is the question that you... Another important point. Keep in mind that what you are living, what you are experiencing, your dark night of the soul, is already living you. It seems paradoxical, but it isn't. The same happens in our body. When we experience an illness and we become aware of it, okay, so I have this illness. The conflict behind the illness, and I mean everything, is psychosomatic. So there isn't the minor illnesses like disorders like, I have a little anxiety, that's psychosomatic. Yes, it's psychosomatic exactly as it is or could be a tumor or anything that's serious. I went through the latter, so I know what I'm talking about because I had to look into very well into the eyes my fears, the conflict that generated that, and I did, and so I was healing from the inside out. So similarly, when we live the dark night of the soul, which can call it a depression. A depression is any state where we have a very low energy. So we feel that we are not able to think clearly, maybe. We are not able to get centered like we used before. I mean, anything that is lowering our vibration is the dark night of the soul. And we can think, but, sorry, I have to drink. I'm looking at the question. I think you're right. This seems like a high mountain. Yes, it is. It is a high mountain. Need energy to change bad mood in good ones. You mean that we have to embrace our fear? Okay, so I think I have read all. Okay, so the next point, yes, is, no, I didn't finish the previous. So the dark night of the soul is leaving our field because when something is manifested, it means that it has been resolved. But so you would ask, so why I'm still living this since weeks, months, or even years? Well, we have attachments. We have strong attachments. We want to be right. We try to be in control of our fears. But as I said before, this gets them bigger and stronger. And so we are unable to really break free from them. But know that when there is any physical manifestation, and the night of the soul is a physical manifestation, this energy is right in front of you and is ready to leave your field. So it's up to you to keep it right there, maybe for much longer, or, okay, I release this once and for all. Of course, here I'm giving you the map. I'm creating the architecture of what it is, what it's like to be in the dark night of the soul, why it happens, and of course the energetic work that I'm talking about is very practical. So it's very different from what I'm explaining here because it's really going to the core. So what is the core? You can ask yourself, this is a very important question. Where do I struggle the most, or what do I struggle the most with? What is really that is keeping me if you could put just one sentence down to answer this question, and maybe from this sentence or two, just extract 2 or 3 emotions. That is your core pain. Your core pain is the root. And like a tree, the root is keeping you there, in that pain. So it's the main issue that you need to resolve. But when you resolve that main issue, that core pain, you are free. You will no longer know bondage or limitations. Of course, life has its highs and lows, of course, but that's very different from a dark night of the soul. A dark night of the soul, it's really an eclipse of the heart, of the soul. We don't see anything, as I said, not even the light at the end of the tunnel. So, the reason that we go through this dark night of the soul is not because, I don't have luck, life is against me, or my soul is not supportive, and it is not that someone or something wants to block us or to put us down. Though sometimes we feel like betrayed by Source, by the universe, by God, because we don't feel anymore seen, supported, loved, cared for. But this is the filter that we have. I mean, when we are in a dark tunnel and we don't see light, this is our normal perception. We feel abandoned, we feel neglected, we feel alone, we feel that nobody really understands what we are going through. This is the normal perception of the dark night of the soul. So just detach yourself a little bit from this perspective and just realize, okay, so this is how I see things, because now I am inside a tunnel, so I cannot see better, but it's not the reality, it's not really how things are. So, I'm going to close now, but I want to tell that there are many ways, many practices to get out of this dark night of the soul. And as I said, today's intention was to give a vision about this, an understanding. If you want to go deeper, I have created free resources. If you feel like, okay, I want to do some self-help, you're free to try them. They are on my website. You can look for Rainbow Light School on cascatediluce.com. They are in Italian or in English. They are the same. Actually, because I see there are Italian people here. In Italian, you also get the first chapters of my books for free. In the English website, you get a masterclass, a 3-part masterclass, where I guide you through several steps, from voicing your heart desires, which is an important step, especially when we go through this, because it's important to give a voice. It connects us to our sense of self and identity. And then there is a part from fear to trust, because trust is probably the main piece here. And then you can access the first modules of the 2 courses that I've created with Lorenzo. And they offer practices that you can start doing on your own. And so you have a feeling of moving things. They are very transformational. Then, if you need more tailored support, I offer a 15 minutes free connection call where we can find out if we are a good match to work together. And how do I work? So I work to ignite your rainbow goddess and rainbow man archetypes, which I like to call primordial creative energies. They are the sacred feminine and sacred masculine. And when they are in balance, we have an amazing life. When they are in disharmony, maybe because we have given in our feminine energy or masculine energy or both of them, we don't have any balance at all. So I also work with the spiral of emotions, which is the title of my first book. The spiral is a symbol of life. So actually I work on an energetic level, which is a parallel language to what we are using regularly. And this is the language of the soul. Because the soul is receives instantly symbols. What symbols are? Images with a meaning, images with a specific purpose. And rainbow goddess, rainbow man, the spiral, and I have also more. They speak directly to the soul. So it's like using metaphors to reignite the source of life within you and reconnect this source to the bigger source from which we all come from. But if we don't reignite first this source within, we cannot find our way to the bigger source. So this is the work I do. I don't know if you have more questions. I don't see more, so I think it's time to close. I will share the same information in Italian on Thursday. And it has been an honor to be with you today. And the most important message that I wanted to share today is that you are meant to thrive, because you are never given something bigger than yourself. You are given something that you can handle. Yes, I know the road can be hard, can be sometimes even longer than we expected or wanted, but we can also accelerate time. We can work on a different timeline. We can connect to our best version, which is already here. So don't believe that you have to connect to to something that is far away, because we live in a quantum universe, and so we can play with quantum time, with quantum healing, which is what I mainly do, and quantum empowering. So you are meant to thrive and lead your life by example. So keep this in mind, because this is your yes, not just to yourself, but to your life and to your inner child, because most of it has to do with this. And to really be there for love. It's all about love. And whatever dark night of the soul we live, it's a separation from such love. So our work is really to go back and find the thread of love that we are. We are love, light, and most importantly, we are infinite. We are eternal. We are here to have a beautiful experience that sometimes It's a bit dark, but we are alchemists. We have come here to transmute dark into rainbow light. Rainbow light blessings to you and much love. Helen Starr. Bye bye.